So, welcome back to unsquashable.tv and on our Facebook page unsquashable.com. You're here for the AJ Bell ESF European Championships at the David Ross Sports Village at the University of Nottingham. With me, lead commentator for this event, Josh Taylor. I'll be joined shortly by tournament MC Paul Walters again for this men's 3-4 playoff between the Swissman of Nicolas Mueller against the Spanish national champion and defending champion of this event, but due to lose his title, Borja Golan. Looking at the two players, obviously Nicolas Mueller slipping slightly down the ranks to world number 32, and they're still taking his title as Swiss national champion this year. He's up against the Spanish number 1 and world number 16, Borja Golan. Both players losing out in their semi-finals yesterday. Borja put in a good showing against James Allstrop, showing that he's in good form as we start this new season of squash going into 2017-18 season. Nicky Mueller had a tough test against Gregory Gaultier yesterday. World number 1 showing why he's there. He put him away quite convincingly, 3 games to love. I'm joined back with the man of many talents, Paul Walters. Busy working around there, doing the MCing, doing the commentary. Is there anything that you can't do, Paul?
There's lots I can't do.
So what do you think of this encounter? We've got Nicky Mueller, Borja Golan. 2 good players actually. It's going to be a good contest, I think. But Borja was in good form across this event. I think he's shown like he might be heading into this season showing some real form, looking in good shape. What were your sort of overriding feelings of these 2 players earlier on in this event?
Obviously, you've got to put it into reflection that Nicolas played Gregory Gaultier yesterday, and he is in unbelievable form. He is the most dominant player in the world. He's devastating at times on court, and he was indeed devastating yesterday. But I think on reflection, Nick, I think he has to be a little bit disappointed with that performance. He fell away significantly after that first game, and he'll be disappointed for that. So it'll be interesting to see how he approaches this, whether it's sort of, such a defeat will have a negative impact, or whether that will actually spur him on to put in a really great performance here against Borja. As for Borja, he showed just how important this title was to him. I think he literally left everything on court yesterday, which he was the first to recognise. It was a very, very close game, and certainly the score, a 3-0 scoreline, didn't reflect the quality of the match or how close indeed it was. So I think personally I can only see one winner with Borja, but a lot of that.
Going to give me a score prediction, Paul?
I see 3-love, but it's all, I think it's really down to now the mindset of Nicolas and just how much he wants to sort of put in the performance. He's got the talent, but Borja is a very, very difficult player to beat, particularly so when he's playing in a Spanish shirt.
I have to agree. I think yesterday and across the event, Borja's shown some really good form. I think it's interesting where this event is now situated in the calendar. I think Nicky Mueller showed elements of his game that hopefully will come through in the season, but not quite the readiness that you'd like to see from him. But shows the early stage of the season that we're in and just coming out of the summer block. Yesterday he looked to attack in short a lot against Greg and then try and follow up on the volley. Obviously trains in Paderborn with Simon Rosner, who also has that attacking capability. It's interesting seeing how he went about the match. It did seem to work for him in portions, but he kind of played with more of a carefree attitude yesterday, and I think that showed in just the mindset that players are going on against someone of Gregory Gaultier's stature and ability at the moment.
Well, you've just seen it there, the first rally. It looked as though Nicolas Mueller hadn't really warmed up properly, and there was sort of no real attempt to get to the front of the court. And then you've just seen two breathtaking rallies where he's looked to get onto the ball and to attack, and particularly on that boast. Already in those, the last two rallies, he's looked to really attack with that short ball.
Borja's a really fiery competitor. He left, as you said, he left everything on there yesterday, and just wants to fight to the death. And he's not necessarily the most orthodox of players, but he's a gritty competitor.
He's someone who can spoil his opponent's rhythm. He takes the rhythm away, he breaks up the game. He's a very, very fair player on court. He's a wonderful ambassador for the sport, particularly off court. What he puts into the sport is always the first to support events like this. But often some of his wins have come at times where he's just frustrated his opponent.
He just doesn't give up, does he? Very fit, very strong. And his technique is a little unorthodox, but he makes every bit of it, and it's very effective in what he does with the ball and how early he's able to take it.
A feature of the last match was just how fluid the two players were on court and how they were running around each other, and it was a very clean and very fair match. And I had doubts going into that whether, with the pressure of the occasion, whether it would be as fluid as that, and it certainly was. So I just hope that my concerns for this match as well don't come to the front, because often if it is going to get close, Borja is going to get increasingly frustrating in terms of...
We saw that yesterday, didn't we?
Exactly.
He got quite frustrated at some of the decisions. And rightly so, actually. I think there was a lack of consistency in a few of the decisions yesterday, which could have led to him being a bit frustrated. I could understand from a player's perspective where he was coming from.
And Nicolas as well, he's a big guy. He's not dissimilar in stature to James. So Borja's style combined with the size of a player like Nicolas, so I think that could be a defining characteristic of the match.
It's interesting, Borja looking to counter there and make Nicolas do the work to go up front. It was something yesterday how Nicky was looking to take the ball in and then follow up off the long ball for the volley. Interesting, Borja choosing to counter and take his opponent up to those front corners with him.
Nicolas just needs to be careful that he's obviously got the talent to take that ball in short, particularly on that attacking angle. But he's got to do the hard yards before it, and he's got to make sure that Borja's really, behind him and out of position, because if he doesn't, then Borja's so quick he's going to get to the front. He's going to play the drop shot to the front corner, and effectively Mueller's playing himself out of position. So he's got to be a little bit more patient. I think he's got to make sure that he gets his opponent behind him before he starts to attack the front of the court. Again, very impatient.
Yeah, I think that was a feature yesterday, that he was looking to take it in very, very early, and sometimes it wasn't the right opportunity, and he probably could have done with working the situation that little bit more. Nice to obviously see the players looking to attack. Yeah, so there was quite a lot of errors coming off the racket of Mueller's. Be interesting to see how he responds here, Paul. 7-2 down in this first game. It's interesting, obviously, on the World Tour, these guys aren't used to playing out the tournament for position, and how they'll respond to that. After losing in the semis, there could be somewhat complacency in terms of the performances today, but I didn't see that in the last battle. It really was a battle and went to 5, so it was really nice to see.
Certainly don't think you'll see that from Borja. I think with Nicky, it's just going to be a case of, does he believe he can win? And if he does believe he can win, he just needs to execute his plan with a little bit more sort of caution. I think he's got to unleash his weapons, and he's got many weapons from all around the court. But at the same time, he's got to be a little bit more structured in his rallies. I guess what's so difficult with playing Borja is there's so few players play with his type of game. So it's not as if you can, have experience or gain experience of playing against someone with that type of game, because it really is sort of quite unique and very, very frustrating.
We saw that in his quarter-final against local player Golan James. He, as the game went on, more and more started to ease towards Borja's side, and in the end started to frustrate the young Englishman, eventually coming through 3-1.
A feature of Borja's career actually is very seldom does he lose to a player ranked below him. He certainly frustrates the players above him, and he's had some great wins in his career. But very seldom do you see Borja losing to someone ranked below him.
Interesting, a group of Spanish players starting to come through, young Spanish players starting to come through, and maybe in the next couple of years we'll start to test Borja at national titles and back him up. That's not coming through from Barcelona, is that right, Paul?
Barcelona Global Squash there. They've really got a great group of players. Iker Pajeras is getting a lot of headlines at the moment, and he seems to be the player that's coming through. Bernat has just had quite a serious injury, but I noticed today he just got to a final. He'll be disappointed not to have won, but again, he's another player that, very talented, and there's a real group of players. Similar mentality, I think, in many respects to the French. They're there as a team. They're very good friends, but they're also, great rivals. It would have been great to see Nika in particular playing in this tournament, because I know he's done a lot of work over the summer months, and having spoken to him, he just felt that maybe he was just 2 or 3 weeks short of being at a peak for this.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing how players have slotted this into their pre-season preparations. Quite a few of them choosing it as an event where they can get a lot of matches in due to the format. Make sure they're match sharp as they head into the World Tour.
It'll be interesting, in particular with someone like James Willstrop, because a feature of his career has always been first tournament back, quite slow out of the blocks. I think it was significant that he played an invitational event last weekend, maybe in preparation for this, which, as he said yesterday, he's using very much. He wants to win the title. It's only the second time he's ever played the event, but more importantly, he wants to get a little bit of momentum, and maybe feels as though he can get out of the blocks a little bit quicker when he plays that first PSA World Tour event.
I'd imagine someone like James is looking at it at the stage of his career that it might be one of his last big seasons where he can take quite a few titles and have some successes. Obviously at 34 now, he's probably looking to eke every last great result he can get out of his career.
He's obviously had a period out of the game though through injury, and I'm a big believer that if you are forced to take some time out of the game, what you lose during the middle of your career, you actually gain at the end. And I think a big example of that is Nick Matthew, who, took a considerable amount of time out of his career with that shoulder injury, which at the time was career-threatening. You see in there the benefits. I mean, his conditioning is incredible, as is James, and he's still competing on the World Tour. So he's got those years added on to the end of his career.
And we're seeing that a hell of a lot more now in players being able to get longer careers. The professionalism of the game, every element covered, allows them that longevity of a career now. Obviously a Commonwealth year and a Commonwealth cycle coming up, so quite a lot for the English players to look forward to this season.
Interesting first game. He's obviously taken that 11-8, and there's been some good exchanges, but it's not really something that is sort of particularly memorable in terms of being a defining pattern of that game. It just seems to be errors maybe from Nicky or...
Yeah, I think we saw that yesterday. Like, Nicky Mueller has the ability to get a lot of winners off his racket, but also a lot of errors. I think that shows, particularly against a player like Borja, who doesn't give you a lot at all. If you make a lot of mistakes, often that can count against you a lot, because he's certainly not going to give you any back. And I think that showed there, taking it 11-8, Borja just showing how tough a competitor he is and making every one of Nicky's errors add up to the gap and the points difference between the two of them.
Obviously Borja's going to be he's going to be happy to have taken the game, but I think in many respects would probably have liked to have influenced that game to a far greater extent. He's not really put down a marker there, and maybe that's because Nicky, in some of those rallies has played really well and not given him the opportunity to do that. But a defining characteristics of Borja, as we said before, is he puts his marker down. He tells you very early that if you're going to win this, it's going to be long, it's going to be hard. And he gets people to question their desire, and I think in that game there it's kind of just meandered through and come to a conclusion without either player really stamping their authority on it.
Definitely with a player such as Nicky, when you stamp down that authority, I think it can show quite a lot. So I think Nicky Mueller has the ability. It's whether it's in his head sometimes, I think, as to whether or not he can get it to shine through.
I think also he looks for inspiration.
Yeah.
I went to the Grasshopper Cup this year, and the support he had out there was absolutely phenomenal. And the squash that he was playing, the level to which he raised his game was incredible, and it was great to see. And sometimes you think it would be great for him to deliver that. On a more consistent basis.
It's interesting watching the decisions that Borja makes from the front of the court. See, Nicky has got the weapons to attack into the front, and Borja, I think, has made some good decisions in terms of counters and using the width when taking it long to try and prevent Nicky from doing what he does so well in taking it in and following it up on the volley. He's just not given him the option or ability to be able to do it probably as much as Nicky would have liked to in that first game. And again, we talked about how much Borja can frustrate a player, and I think that shows in his tactics there, often opting to take away options from his opponent rather than necessarily always threaten them with his own.
Again, that rally there, it wasn't maybe dissimilar to what we saw in the first game. Unconvincing really from both players. You know, Borja, I think, would have been disappointed that he wasn't quite hitting the length and width that he wanted to, and Nicky being disappointed that he wasn't really able to sort of capitalise upon it.
It's a nice hold and then boast from Borja there, making the most of the situation. Getting that width from Borja. Be ever so careful not to give away volleys to Nicky around the middle.
This court actually should be perfect for Nicky because it, as you said before, it's a quick front wall, but also takes a very good shot, which should enable him to sort of impose his authority on his opponents by that probably greater range of shot.
Yeah, particularly on the attack, I think it forces players into maybe being a little bit more rushed in situations. And often when players are rushed, you see the cross-court, loose cross-courts coming out, which he capitalises on so much.
First animation from Borja.
Just having a little look at the replay. It's great personality on court, isn't he, Borja?
He's just someone that you can't not warm to. Even if you're supporting his opponent at times, you just, you know, you have to applaud his effort and, you know, his sheer desire. You're going to have to beat him. He's never going to give you an easy point. He's never going to give you an easy game. Certainly not going to give you an easy match.
These are the kind of rallies that Borja thrives in as well, a longer, more frustrating rallies to a shot maker like Nicky. Not giving him the opportunity.
Nicky's hitting a good length there. You can see, you know, he's really forcing Borja off the tee. A little bit more patient play.
Mueller. 3-5. Correction. 3-0.
Referee getting a completely wrong score there. Only 2 points out. It's good to see that they're alert.
What was quite interesting there with that challenge, I think Borja would have gone with it. He didn't say anything. He's letting a lot go to the back of the court, Borja, particularly on that forehand side. I thought he would probably want to sort of take time away from his opponent just a little bit more.
Very loose ball. Nicky not able too much to... Here's the animation.
It's coming to the front.
Yeah. It's interesting how he reacts when he gets annoyed though, Borja. He often doesn't win the point after the animations.
No.
It's good for the crowd, but maybe not so good for him. Nice lift.
I think his frustration, particularly yesterday, was the inconsistency of the decisions.
I think we had 5 or 6 in a row, didn't we, into the front backhand quarter, which were very, very similar, given different decisions each time, and that's what the players get frustrated at, is the consistency of them. If there's consistency there, they know how to act in that situation, where lack of consistency causes confusion for them. With a player like Borja, actually causes a lot of frustration. Nice touch, good subtlety, and using a low cost court kill.
Nicky's not convincing going to the front of the court at all, is he?
Not showing his skill today quite as much as yesterday. Some beautiful winners off his racket, but just not enough for someone like Greg.
We saw earlier in the ladies' match that strength of holding the position at the front of the court within the movement. You see it as a feature of Borja's technique, but again, you know, with Nicky, it seems less consistent going to the front of the court, just a little bit more rushed.
It's quite often off balance and then ends up following through the ball a little bit to the front corners, giving away space to the back after the player's able to follow it up. That's a great shot across the middle from Borja.
There you go, the hold and hit.
Setting up a 5-point lead in this game. Just there's a nice replay, showing that strength, turning the ball away. Just completely brought Nicky into that shot.
Complete commitment to making his opponent move in. As soon as he sees that commitment, just hold and hit. Very, very simple, very effective, and again understated. Not always is that easy to appreciate the level of skill that he's introducing there.
So to Golan, and out 10-5. Game ball.
Open up 5 game balls. Strong lead in this second game.
Sit down, please.
Great lift from Mueller. Moving the ball around nicely around the court, using all the variations of height and pace. Great soft hands from Borja to take that.
Very, very simple.
The quality of shot there. Which sees the Spaniard take the second game 11-5.
21 minutes for 2 games.
It's quite quick for a men's game. Be interesting to see how Nicky approaches this third game. I think it's going to be quite hard for him to show the level of confidence that he needs in his game to pull through and get a result. I think Borja's frustrated him, as we saw in the early rounds, where Borja just frustrated his opponents, got more and more going his way. We're starting to see that come through again here against a very talented Swiss player.
You can see there is instant reaction upon losing those is just frustration, not a steely determination. It's just almost, you know, an acceptance of, yeah, it is frustrating. And again, as I said before, I don't really see anything here other than a straight games victory.
He is a player, isn't he, Nicky, that requires almost a big situation and a lot of motivation. Maybe someone like you in his corner, Paul, would get him going. He's very relaxed in his corner.
It's a shame actually we can't see Borja. I'd like to see how he's approaching this in terms of a thought process for the third game. I can't see anything other than a very determined Spaniard coming out here just to close out the match.
Absolutely. I think we're going to see him absolutely firing in these early points. A feature of a few of his last matches have been the velocity of hitting that he started and finished games in big situations and trying to up the tempo and pace and cause his opponents to be as rushed as possible.
Golan leads 2 games to love. Level. One love.
That first rally again, very, very similar to first 2 games. Borja's showing an incredible amount of patience, which you'd expect from the Spaniard. There's no let-up in his concentration. Another soft point. I think Nicky would really like to put on a performance here, and I think he'd like to entertain the audience. It's obviously an audience that he's familiar with. He plays for Nottingham in the PSL, so he'll probably be a little bit disappointed that he's not really putting in the show that he'd like to.
Interesting, Borja taking that early lead, showing that positivity.
That's 4 love, so
I think this could be a one-way traffic now.
it's going to be a slow, painful death.
Very animated on that bows, Borja. Just making sure.
5 love.
He's got a game plan, he never wavers from it.
He's your kind of player really, Paul, isn't he? I can imagine you're a big Borja fan.
I think it's great for a player like that who, you know, he comes from a country that hasn't got the biggest history within squash. To dominate domestically is one thing. I mean, he's won the Spanish title, I think, 15 times. But to be able to go onto the world tour and be so effective and so successful there as well, I have nothing but admiration for the guy.
He's not based in Barcelona either. He's based further out, isn't he?
He is,
doing a lot of his training by himself.
Yeah, I mean, initially he was based as a junior, or certainly at the beginning of his senior career, he was based in England, but more recently gone back to Spain, and I think he's got a very strong base there. But But as I say, on a day-to-day basis, a lot of his training is by himself.
Which is ever so hard when the level's that high, to keep to that level and match sharpness that he requires to be able to do well on the World Tour. Now you look at someone like Nicolas Mueller, who's based with Simon Rosner as a training partner every day, and a lot of the players having strong bases of players and other players around their level to train with on the World Tour, going through similar experiences on a day-to-day basis.
Particularly in the UK now.
That's a fantastic shot.
You see groups of players, don't you? And you know, there's pockets now emerging, and obviously Pontefract's always been very strong in terms of a group of players, and Lee Beachill really brought forward, you know, the likes of James Wilstrop, and now he's bringing through to other players. I know Nick Matthews very keen to establish a group within the Nick Matthew Academy at Hallamshire, and then you've got Rob Owen with the Rob Owen Academy in Birmingham with another, you know, group of players. So it must, obviously it's very difficult to train, and with the workloads that these guys have to put in and the professionalism they have to show, but being with a group of players where each is pushing them on, you know, each on it, it has to be a lot easier than really doing it by yourself day in, day out.
I think so. It's that guidance as well that comes with having a group of players or a coach around, particularly someone like Nick, and his base that he's trying to get set up, and equally Rob with his group of players. That guidance and level of support that they get
9-2.
definitely is showing. So we see it's 9-2 to Borja. One-way traffic as we predicted in this third game. So we lose tournament MC Paul Walters as he's ever multitasking and tries to get down to court ready if in case Borja takes this third game, which is looking likely at this stage. But Nicky's not getting put away that easily. Looking to stay in this game. Oh. Walker just catching that Nick on the cross court. Opens him up 6 match balls here in our men's 3-4 playoff. And just looking for that counter, forcing Nicky to be the player that plays out of the front.
Tonight, 5-10, match ball.
Maybe the comeback's on here with Nicky Mueller just showing some signs of a bit of fight in this third game. Rare from Borja allowing his opponent back in. Normally one to always close out a match in very efficient form. Nicky digging that out. Again, another deep cross court from Borja. By such soft touch. And there we have it. The Spaniard taking it 3 games to love. Showing his great form in this event, and we're down courtside with MC Paul Walters.
Ladies and gentlemen, just
for a few words from Borja Golan.
With Borja, please show your appreciation there to Nicolas Mueller. Borja, you never fail to astound me really in terms of the mindset, the concentration, the determination, the pure professionalism. You come here to defend your title, you gave it everything. It didn't work out yesterday, you played great, but you came here with a mindset that, okay, I can't get gold, I can't get silver, but I'm going to get bronze.
Even in training I lose, so you can see that my training is probably the same. But I think, it's a great tournament to start the season with. Play really good matches here, 4 really good matches. Today I know Nick is very dangerous here. He likes to play attacking from the first rally. So I was in trouble in the first part of the games, and then I was able to put him a bit more in the back corners. So yeah, I have big motivation to finish third because number 1 in the world, number 6 in the world in this event. So became just in third place is a honor for me. So really proud.
You talk about motivation, and one thing that we spoke about earlier was, you know, your motivation to do it year in, year out. You're a 15-time national champion, and you know, modestly you said yes, but it's not like winning the British national title. But there's still some really good players in Spain, and your legacy is that there's now a group of players that are coming through that are hopefully going to take on the mantle from you. Does that make you extra proud?
I don't think. They train by themselves, I don't train with them. They make their own effort. When I start with the same age as them, I try to push hard, I try to train hard, be professional. And these guys are like that, are really professionals. If I can help them with any advice, only the good advices. Try to don't do the wrong things I did, and I'm still doing. But yeah, it's good that, like you say, it's many years in Spain, and you have. It's not like the professional tour because there's not that many professional players in Spain, but it's every year they want to beat you, and it's a lot of pressure. The last few nationals I couldn't speak properly because of that, but yeah, I try to keep enjoying, and if I keep winning a few more years, it will be nice. If not, it's nice because that means that the squad in Spain is growing up.
So in terms of your goals, you've said that this tournament's great in terms of this time of the year because it gives you an opportunity after summer to see exactly where you're at. So where are you at now in terms of where you want to be? Are you comfortable with the way you're playing, or are there still things that, obviously there's always things you can improve, but are you comfortable that you've done the right work and looking forward to a good season?
Yeah, I spent like 2 months with a really good training. I have the training there, but now I just need a few more matches with the top guys. It's always difficult the first tournament of the season, mainly in Spain because I play with Carlos, which is a good player, but now I'm playing with top 10 players, and it's a different rhythm, different pace. The position of your shots have to be better, you have less time to think. Everything is different, so really happy to play these 3-4 matches here, and hopefully next month I'm playing there.
Well, I'm sure you will have a great season. You certainly look as if you've got everything in order. For people in the UK, we look forward to seeing you at the World Championships, the AJ Bell World Championships in Manchester. But before then, we wish you all the very best, and we look forward to seeing you at the medal ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, Borja Golan.
So thank you for joining us once again at unsquashable.tv and on our Facebook page, unsquashable.com. You'll be able to join us back here at 4 o'clock for our first of our finals, the women's final at the AJ Bell ESF European Championships. Thanks and see you later.